Welcome back. It was the death of former policeman Adamo Bove while investigating the abduction of a Muslim cleric that triggered an Italian phone tapping scandal. The conversations of Italy's most powerful politicians and businessmen had been listened to during covert operations.
He was making a personal investigation about his enemies. And so I would like a lot to read what he discovered about. And these enemies were the same persons who once said we are the angels, no, the beautiful guys who discovered the bad things that Adamo Bove made. Instead now they are in jail because they were making informatic attacks.
The internal report that stigmatized Bove was written by Fabio Gioni. Gioni was the head of the Tiger team, a group of computer hackers who were hired by Telecom Italia to perform vulnerability tests. His alias was Divine Shadow, and his occupation, as his presentations reveal, was to teach people how to invade computers and perform electronic espionage.
Il monitoraggio
The monitoring consisted of an attempt to enter my computer via a Trojan worm in order to download whatever was inside. My bank accounts were violated, my tax declarations were illegally checked. For months I have been tailed. Every single movement of mine was controlled by up to 50 people.
In realtà, Fabio
Gioni and his hackers worked for years in order to get access to other companies' web information. For instance, in Brazil, where Telecom Italia was engaged in a legal battle with the Opportunity Fund for the control of Telecom Brazil, Gioni and his hackers got into a computer of a Kroll agent, and they succeeded in gathering all the information concerning the case.
The relationship between Fabio Gioni and Adamo Bove was not a friendly one. Bove was monitoring Gioni's movements on behalf of the Milan prosecutors.
The two were rivals, and the two had not a good relationship with each other, and Fabio Gioni never made any secret of this rivalry between them.
Other people from Telecom were fearing Bove was collaborating with the police and with the judges. Therefore, in order to defend themselves, they tried to blame him for charges that were not his fault, but someone else's.
The enemies of Adamo Bove inside the Telecom group were able to put the head of the group against him. And this happened just before the apparent suicide.
The eavesdropping team was arrested on criminal charges of privacy violation and information technology fraud. They are awaiting trial.
Now it is clear that it was a system that Adamo Bove, in the worst hypothesis, was one little fish.
But the story is far from closed. Tavaroli's accomplice, Marco Mancini, worked together with CIA officials to facilitate their rendition operations in Italy.
According to the prosecutors, he organized the rendition, kidnapping of an imam, Abu Omar, who was kidnapped in Milan and given to the CIA and brought in Egypt in secret prisons, tortured and so on. It was one of the most known cases of the renditions in Europe.
The abduction of the Muslim cleric was just the tip of the iceberg of joint operations conducted by CIA and the Italian secret services.
Numbers of illegal operations were run by the Italian intelligence in order to, in the so-called war on terror, in order to I'm not saying to please, but in order to satisfy the requests from the U.S. administration. So there is no doubt that something happened.
Robert Lady was in charge of it. We know Robert Lady coordinated the abduction of Abu Omar, and we know that he flew to Egypt where Abu Omar was tortured.
The Abu Omar case is I think probably the most astonishing evidence of it. There you have the full involvement of the CIA and the full involvement of SISMI as well.
We also know the method of transmission, which is Condoleezza Rice met with Giovanni Castellaneta, who was at that point Berlusconi's national security advisor, and transmitted the information that they were going to kidnap Abu Omar.
A good ally and political friend, Silvio Berlusconi's government provided the Bush administration with a long-sought excuse to invade Iraq.
The Yellow Cake dossier, that document that alleged that Saddam Hussein was getting uranium from Niger, which was completely false. When that came to light, the Super Amanda Project put out disinformation that it was a French group that was actually doing it.
Well, the Yellow Cake operation, a so-called Nigergate operation, is another evidence of, is another culprit of the kind of cooperation that the two governments, the Silvio Berlusconi's government and the Bush administration have had in the past 5 years. The Nigergate was a scam in order to offer to the U.S. administration the smoking gun, I would say, the mushroom cloud, in order to win the hearts and minds of the U.S. public opinion in order to invade Iraq. So I think that's a fact.
So what did the Italians get for forging a document that allowed the U.S. to go to war? Mind you, this is not a small document. This was in President Bush's State of the Union address. He relied on this to say he wanted to go to war.
Washington and Rome agreed to make covert operations in the name of America's fight against terrorism. Italy would get a bonus for that.
So what Berlusconi got back, and we can trace it very carefully, he got back his company, Italy's company, Finmeccanica, got the contract for the Marine Ones, the president's helicopter, which, by the way, he has a fleet of 23 of them. First time awarded to a foreign contractor, complete out of character.
Finmeccanica is, as you know, as everybody knows, is one of the hugest arms system dealer, Italian, not only on the Italian market, but on the worldwide market. And for sure, Finmeccanica benefited by the excellent relationship between the Silvio Berlusconi government and the U.S. administration government. That's a fact.
Wiretaps, industrial espionage, blackmail, fraud, secret services, and big financial deals. The two massive scandals in Greece and Italy were not as widely reported in Europe and the US. Some people wanted to keep them quiet.
European, the members of Europe and are only interested in business, because I'm there and I see, I know that where is a violation on human rights, they are not very interested. They are only interested in business, in economic things. They don't want to go inside other questions, delicate questions, as what happened in Italy.
The result is that there was a terrible, huge damage, not only to the, I think, to the credibility of Telecom itself, to the Italian biggest communication company, but it was an incredible damage to for the Italian public opinion, for the Italian citizens. If you go on the street in Rome, you will find you will find hundreds of ordinary people fearing for themselves, for their privacy.
In Italy, the most bugged country in the world, everybody's bugging everybody. All the information comes out, and then nothing happens. In Greece, you have, big street demonstrations. Then it goes up to the government and says, hey, we're afraid, you go look. In America, you have a strange disjunction where none of this appears ever in the press. It's as if it never occurred. So Americans walk around having no idea what their government's doing, because no official spokesman will comment on it, no official spokesman comments, no American press coverage.
But how aware are we of the fact that our lives are being monitored more and more every day?
So if Americans want to spy on Americans, they simply ask the British to do the spying, and then the British hand the data back to the Americans. So these are all kind of phony rules. In practice, what should be understood is there's zero privacy. The United States government has the money, the intelligence, the means to intercept every single phone call in the world and every single email.
The trial of the CIA agents accused of kidnapping Abu Omar opened in June this year. It's the first ever legal prosecution of one of the Bush administration's most controversial counter-terrorism tactics. Secret deals, covert operations, bugged phones and bugged lives. It's a case that makes us all realize how vulnerable we are against big corporations and powerful governments. If you have any thoughts on today's story, we'd love to hear from you on aljazeera.net/English. That's it for the program. Until next time, goodbye.